Chapter 13 is a parenthetical chapter, and it covers the Antichrist and the false prophet, two major actors in the end time events. In chapter 12, we mainly saw the wonders taking place in the spiritual realm, and now John shifts the scene to the earthly realm or the more natural realm. I'm going to start out with Revelations 13:1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. John is standing on the seashore, and he sees a beast rise up out of the sea. This beast rises up out of the sea of humanity, from out of the nations that surround the Mediterranean Sea. He has the nature and the character of a beast. And in this instance, the beast means a contemptible person with a formidable and dreadful nature. He will be known for his irreverence and reviling of God. The first beast of chapter 13 goes by numerous different names throughout the scriptures. A few examples: Gog in Numbers 24:7, and throughout Ezekiel chapter 38, he is called Gog. The little horn in Daniel 7:8, the prince that shall come in Daniel 9:26, the son of perdition, the man of sin, and the man of lawlessness in 2 Thessalonians 2:3 and 4. 1 John 2:18, I'm going to read that. It says, "Little children, it is the last time. And as ye have heard that Antichrist shall come, even now there are many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time." John reminds the early church that the Antichrist is coming and that many Antichrists have already existed. The word Antichrist can be broken down into 2 components. First, anti, meaning an opponent of or instead of, and Christ, meaning the Messiah. The final Antichrist is distinguished from all other Antichrists. He will be deceptively charming and preach another gospel. Daniel 11:36 says, "And the king, which is the Antichrist, shall do according to his will. He shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak astonishing things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation," which would be the abomination of desolation, "be accomplished, for he shall magnify himself above all." So this Antichrist will masquerade as a Christ with a counterfeit ministry. John describes this beast in 13:1 as having 7 heads, 10 horns, and 10 crowns atop the 10 horns. So let's look at Revelation 17:9 through 11. It says here, "And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. The woman is the harlot Babylon. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition." Okay, so the 7 heads are 7 mountains according to Revelations 9, okay? And these 7 mountains in Scripture typically symbolize different Antichrist empires, or just different empires and their rulers that have existed throughout history. In verse 10, 5 of these empires have fallen. At the time of John's writing, the following are generally accepted historical fallen empires of the Middle East. The first being the Egyptian Empire, the second being the Assyrian Empire, the third, the Babylonian Empire, the fourth, the Persian Empire, and the fifth, the Grecian Empire. In Daniel, we see that he talks about these same empires, but he's only talking about the one that he is in, the Babylonian, and he starts with that one. But we know one is. It says in the Scripture, one is from the text. And that would be the Roman Empire, which is governing, or the empire in existence in the Middle East during the time of John and Jesus. That is the one that is the Roman Empire. Therefore, we can conclude that the Roman Empire is the 6th world Antichrist empire. We see one has yet to come, and it remains unidentified in the text, and that would be the 7th Antichrist empire. The text states that the 7th Antichrist empire rules twice. The second time, briefly, before he goes into perdition. He is the beast, or the Antichrist, that was and is not and reappears again. We're going to need to look back at history to discover the empire that ruled in the Middle East after the Roman Empire. History tells us the Turkish Ottoman Empire ruled the Middle East after Rome. After a period of expansion, it dominated the Middle East for 600 years, from the early 1400s to the early 1900s. I believe that we will see the rise of the Turkish Ottoman Empire as the end times unfold. In addition, we also see in Ezekiel chapter 38, 1 through 7, it gives us a list of the specific nations that are going to make up the end time and the Antichrist empire. They are listed as Magog, Rosh, Meshach, Tubal, and Gomar. And I have looked at maps in the Christian Holman Atlas, and it shows that all these ancient peoples and tribes are now a portion of modern day Turkey. We also know Persia is listed, and that is modern day Iran. And then there's Kush, and that's modern day Sudan, which is in Africa. There's Put, modern day Libya, and that is also in Africa along the Mediterranean Sea. And then there's Beth Togarmah, and that is the northern region of Syria, which is just south of Turkey. All of these nations are found in the Middle East, and they all surround the nation of Israel. And in addition, all these nations were a part of the original Turkish Empire during its domination in the 14 to 1900s. Okay, so the 7 heads represent the 7 Antichrist empires that rule the Middle East throughout history. The 10 horns represent the 10-nation coalition making up the final end-time Antichrist empire. There's going to be a coalition of nations that are going to represent this end-time empire. And of course, the 10 crowns, when we see crowns, it always emphasizes their power and authority. So the Antichrist will exhibit these blasphemous names upon these upon his 10 heads. He will have more than dominion over a physical territory, but he will impose his will, his laws, and systems with absolute impunity until the Lord returns and casts him into the lake of fire. He will go into perdition. This is the beast that goes into perdition. Okay, moving on now. Revelation 13:2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. John describes the beast, or this Antichrist, as being similar to a leopard with feet like a bear and a mouth like a lion. In Daniel, we see that he also describes these same beasts, but he describes them as separate entities or empires. And John here is saying it is a conglomeration of all of these beasts. This end-time beast will be the final satanic dictator. Satan will take possession of this man and give the Antichrist all his power, his throne, and his authority. Revelations 13, 3-4. 3-4. I'm sorry. And I saw one of the heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like the beast? Who is able to make war with him? John sees what appears to be a mortal head wound to one of the heads of the beast. John mentions this fatal head wound 3 times in this chapter, in verse 3, in verse 12, and in verse 14. The beast, or the Antichrist, is fatally wounded by a sword, which is basically a weapon of war, and he is healed. This miraculous recovery from death causes the world admiration. The world will look upon the beast and believe in a counterfeit resurrection. The event will add tremendously to his popularity and to his power. The inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast, and knowingly or unknowingly, they will be worshiping Satan. These worshipers will be awestruck at this wicked one who is coming after the working of Satan with all power, signs, and lying wonders. In 2 Thessalonians 2:9, we see how this can actually come about. And it says there, they received, meaning the inhabitants of the earth, not the love of the truth. So they rejected the truth. And for this cause, that they might be saved. They rejected it, and truth gives us salvation. And for this cause, God sends them strong delusion that they should be a lie. If you continue to reject truth, God is the one who actually puts you in strong delusion. And this is going to happen in the end time. That is how they're going to be so taken in by this end time Antichrist. Revelations 13, 5-8. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. The beast, or the Antichrist, is given the ability to speak eloquently and effectively. He will use these skills to deceive and impassion the masses. He is given the freedom to revile God and everything that God stands for. He will be allowed to continue without restraint for 42 months. He will make war with the saints and prevail over them. And Jesus in Luke 12:4 encourages us with these words. Be not afraid of them that kill the body, and after that have no more that they can do. Jesus is saying, fear God and remain steadfast. The Antichrist rules over the inhabitants of the earth whose names are not written in the Lamb's book of life. Revelations 13, 9, and 10. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. If any man have an ear, let him hear. This is a general exhortation from God to pay attention. These are a warning, and I believe it's to the saints. And it's for whoever, because for whatever a man soweth, shall he also reap. So for whoever betrays and leads another into captivity, he himself shall go into captivity. Whoever murders, he himself will be murdered. In spite of the terrible persecution and suffering that the saints will go through, victory is to be found in allegiance to Jesus Christ alone and faith in his ultimate justice. God will take vengeance on those. Don't get caught up in betrayal and offenses and the things that are going to come at the end time. He wants us to remain steadfast in him. Keep your gaze fixed. Revelations 13, 11 through 12. And he exerciseth all power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. John introduces us. It should have been 11. I'll start over. This is the second beast, and I missed verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And then we see the things that he does. He exercises power. He does great wonders. He deceives them. And so I'll go through that. So John introduces us to the second beast. He is different from the first beast. This beast rises up from the earth and has the appearance of a lamb with 2 horns and is subordinate to the first beast. And he causes those who dwell on the earth to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. He speaks like a dragon, spewing forth lies. He will perform signs, wonders, and miracles to back up his false teaching. This beast is known as the false prophet. John specifically highlights the false prophet calling fire down from heaven. And this is most likely in response to the miracles performed by the 2 witnesses in chapter 11. The false prophet will perform his miracles in the presence of the Antichrist, deceiving the inhabitants of the earth. I'm going to read verse 14 through 15. And deceiveth them that dwell in the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. He will order the inhabitants of the earth. The false prophet will order the inhabitants of the earth to erect a statue of this beast made in the likeness of the Antichrist. Either supernaturally or technologically, this image will be animated in a way that it can breathe and speak. And the false prophet will execute anyone who refuses to bow down and worship the image of the Antichrist. Revelation 16 to 18. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. The false prophet will cause all those who want to participate in the economy to receive a mark in their forehead or their right hand. Only those who bear this mark, which is either the name of the beast or the number of his name, will be allowed to buy and sell. Wisdom is necessary to calculate the understanding of the number of the beast. The number of the beast is the number of a man, and that number is 666, according to the text. There's much speculation and conjecture as to whom this beast may be. The text does imply the possibility of solving this mystery of the identity of this beast using spiritual wisdom. I have no idea who this person would be, and I don't even spend time trying to figure it out. I just know it's going to be there, and God will reveal it when it's necessary to me. But I mean, it's fine if that's what you want to do. Since the second part of this chapter is devoted basically to this second beast or the false prophet, I believe the number of this man will be the name of the false prophet and not the Antichrist, as many think it is. I just feel like God has some order to his scripture, and he wants us to know the identity of the false prophet. So in summary, chapter 13 expresses two evil actors in the end time story. These are men who serve Satan and promote a false god and its worship. They will capture the attention and the minds and the worship of the inhabitants of the earth and deceive many. We, the church, must stay vigilant. We must be familiar with the genuine and not the fake. We must continue, and most importantly, we must continue to walk in fellowship with Jesus Christ so we are not deceived. God even says, if it's possible, the very elect will be deceived. So we need to have close relationship with Jesus Christ in the end times so we do not fall for this. And that concludes chapter 13. Are there any questions?